welcome back. And now the discussion about the state of the nation begins right now, where we take a look at matters, politics, and everything in between. And of course, just to bring you up to speed with what is happening currently, remember, today marked a day of tear gas, and of course, we see demonstrations and a change of heart from the government. Very key proposals that were proposed in the Finance Bill of 2024. One of them being the 16% VAT on bread, and of course you have 2.5% on motor vehicle. These are some of the proposals that the government actually have dropped. And of course we have excise duty on edible oil, we have the mobile transfer services, eco levy on all manufactured product. And remember, this is where the bone of contention was actually many protesting about the taxation on sanitary towel, and we have diapers, and these are very critical and essential products that are being used by the young ladies, or rather the ladies, and of course we have young children who depend on this. And of course, imposing taxation on those products would, according to the opinion of many, make life unbearable for some. And this is some of the proposals that the government today actually say that they will be dropping. And of course, we'll just wait and see how the event will unfold. And remember, the better part of today, especially in the Central Business District, we have witnessed some demonstrations that have led to some arrests, and of course even others nursing injuries. And to help me unpack this discussion, I have ladies, and that is Kaikai, Naipamei, and an economist. Then we have Risper, Ntinyari, social worker. Of course, ladies, thank you so much for making time. All right, so Risper, I'll begin with you. Well, in just a nutshell, what we have witnessed today, especially in the Central Business District, orchestrated by the demonstrations by the, a section of Kenyans who are opposed to the Finance Bill of 2024. How will you sum it up, and what message does it send?
Thank you for the opportunity. From what we have seen today, I can say we have seen a revolution where at least today we can say the people who are in the CBD are not the normal goons who we see paid by the politicians. Today we could see people you can look at and see people are really tired. And I think a message that we are trying to send to the government is they promised us heaven when we voted them, but they are delivering the opposite. Okay. And we are really tired. That's why we were in the CBD today.
Okay. Kaikai, are you tired?
Of what?
Of course. To echo the sentiment of Risper, well, according to her, Kenyans are tired of high taxations, and that's why they took their anger to the street. As a Kenyan, of course, are you tired?
According to my perspective, and if I am a seller or an importer, the import tax is increased. I'll also increase the price, so it counts.
Is your mic problem?
So it will counter each other. So I don't think things are tough for other people. So I don't want to speak on their behalf.
All right.
So I'm speaking on my own behalf. And it was interesting to see young people coming out. It's interesting. And I hope next time they'll be more organized. Yeah, because one lady was asked, why are you here? And she started the stories. So I hope next time they'll be more organized. That I wouldn't like to see a situation where there's tear gas and can on water. I like a situation whereby picketing, they are organized, they have written down what they want, and they go without, shouting mean words, and just in a space where each one views is valued, we agree to disagree in a very respectful way, and hopefully the leaders will also listen to the concern of all Kenyans and come in a neutral ground. Okay. That's my hope.
Okay, and we'll talk about the police conduct, especially during these demonstrations. But still on you, Well, what we have seen today, this is minus, at least for now, this is minus politician. This is Kenyans who are rage with this finance bill, and of course their message was pretty clear. They want it, dropped, and of course members of parliament to consider their move going by this standard. And if these demonstrations is anything to go by, do you think maybe the message is pretty clear and maybe it's now time the government act, because Kenyans maybe are tired?
The government have already heard the concerns of Kenyans and it has acted.
Right.
Because the most heated conversation on social media, all of them are being acted on. The motor vehicle tax, the eco tax, all those of them, they've been acted on. Bread tax, what was the other tax? There were several amendments which are made, around 13 or 14 of them. So I believe that this is a win for Kenyans because there were concerns, were heard, and they were acted on before it even went to parliament. In the morning when the president called the Kenya Kwanza parliamentarian meeting, they acted upon all of them. So even the bill which is being presented to all members of parliament is the one that all the concerns that were raised on social media by Kenyans are being acted on. So I believe that the president and the government listens. And also that when we were talking to people yesterday night and today in Twitter space, most few were like, people don't trust their own MPs. And that's not a problem for the presidency. Because the president cannot be the president and be the MP and be the governor, right? We should hold each person accountable separate.
All right.
Because your MP doesn't listen to you, you cannot generalize and say, also the governor doesn't listen to me, and then it goes to the deputy president and the president. No, deal with the MP. So in my own view, this will have been more impactful if they go to constituency level and call upon the MPs, governors, and all of them. The budget is given. The least county, according to the proposed budget, is given around 4 billion Kenya shilling. But we know in counties, there's no any development. So you hold accountable and like, Treasury gave you this money.
Okay.
What have you done with it? But then when we always generalize it, that is where we lose the cause.
Okay, but at this particular point, the elephant in the room is the finance bill. The person who is maybe can change the lives of Kenyans or even save Kenyans from
the MPs.
This are the MPs.
Yes.
So for now, all eyes and attention are on the members of parliament because they have the powers to either approve the bill or reject the bill.
Yeah, and that is why I'm telling you, next time, our generation should be more organized because they started saying Ruto must go. Ruto is not an MP. He's the head of state. He's not going to parliament and discuss the issue and debate out and finalize. Okay. So I prefer if we stick to the agenda. If we are dealing with parliament, we deal with it, and we all have our MPs. I have 2 or 3 MPs because our home is in different places. I will hold them accountable according to my view. Okay. My siblings will hold them accountable according to their views. But it will not be fair if we say like the president is the one having issues.
Okay, so let's be fair on Kenyans. The proposed finance bill, who actually proposed it in the first place?
So the proposed finance bill, of course, is the Treasury that comes up with the data and proposal. Treasury is the Ministry of Treasury and Economic Planning. It is not under the presidency.
Under which document?
They are separate. Okay. We have 24 ministries in Kenya. And then we have the Office of the President, and then we have the Office of the Deputy President.
Fair enough. So according to Kenyan Constitution, who is supposed to actually make the budget, the process-making budget? Who?
Treasury.
It's member of parliament.
The Treasury comes with data. The Treasury comes with data that they have collected and say we want to do this development and this and this,
and then it's the members of parliament.
Members of parliament.
Fair enough. Let's talk about this. In a country where most of the things, or rather in this particular finance bill, it's like, it's the treasurer that presented it to the parliament, and members of parliament made a few adjustments. In reality, it's supposed to be members of parliament who makes this particular budget. As a Kenyan, how will you react? Where will you channel your anger so that we can be fair to Kenyans?
Okay, let's be clear. The work of parliament is legislature, right? Oversight, approval of laws and stuff like
and
that.
And budget making.
Yes, and budget making.
Okay.
So their mandate is still there, and that is why they have tomorrow and Thursday and the committee responsible for that has been having the bill for the last 2 weeks. After public participation, they had the whole, was it 2 weeks for public participation? It should have been longer, according to my personal view. I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone when I say that. It should have been longer. I felt like they would have given Kenyans 1 month for public participation, but fine, it was 2 weeks for public participation, and then immediately after them taking views, they went to Naivasha to go through page by page and finalize it, because there is committee for everything in parliament.
Okay, so let me take account of Risper. Well, we have 16% on bread. We have the 2.5% on motor vehicle. Among the proposed, clauses and taxes that the government is willing to drop, are they enough?
Not really. The reason, maybe before I respond to you, I'd love to remind her that the reason why we are singing Ruto must go and calling him out is because he's the boss. The fact that he's the boss, he has influence. And when we voted him in, he had the promises that he gave us, we as Kenyans.
Okay.
So we are calling him out so that he can remember what he promised us. Immediately he puts the Bible down. So we are calling him to remind him, if he has not put the Bible down, then he should.
All right.
Please.
Before you proceed, just for matters of clarity, when it comes to the matters of finance, everything, I think the boss is the members of parliament. They have the powers.
Yes.
So you can proceed. All right.
Okay, so the reason why I'll say it's still not enough, we are complaining because currently where we are, most of the Kenyans, we still cannot afford even what they are trying to earn tax on. For instance, currently a bread retails at the new one is at 65 shillings, and majority still cannot afford that. And then you want to tax it. I'm a social worker. So currently I'm running a program where we are dealing with teenage pregnancies in our area. And the main reason why there is high teenage pregnancies, it's because of lack of pads. And now you still want to tax these pads that they cannot afford and make the situation worse. When we are trying to deal with the teenage pregnancies, the government is trying to put us in a situation where we do not know whether they are supporting us or they are against what we are trying to do.
Okay.
And my problem with this finance bill is the government is really focusing on taxing us, whereas we cannot see even the tax that they already have, where does it go? Our institutions are not strengthened enough. Like where I come from, in Meru County, you cannot depend on a public school. They do not perform so well.
Okay.
It is in public school where you will find a subject that has no teachers.
Okay. And that is a question of accountability, right?
Yes.
But so let's stay on focus then. We'll talk about accountability, police conduct, everything in between. But first of all, let me just get your count. Where do you think maybe the rain started beating us?
I think by having the wrong legislators. We have the wrong people representing us.
All right.
Yes.
Kaikai, when we look at now, it's already the bill is in parliament, and of course tomorrow and Thursday we are expecting a very robust debate on this proposed bill. So what should we expect, starting tomorrow? Is it a showdown or what?
So the first thing is what Kenyans are expecting, this one I'm speaking on behalf of Kenyans who are there, is they don't believe like what was said today, whether it's true or not. Mm-hmm. So they are very curious for the MPs to confirm tomorrow that the VAT tax on bread, transportation of sugar, and financial services are removed. There is no increase in mobile transfer services, removal of specific taxes, motor vehicle, the list goes on, are removed. So that's the first thing, like even when the speaker said, like, I haven't looked at it even by myself, we are all going to look at it at the same space. You could see the faces of members of parliament like, what do you mean? You know, so the first thing that I'm also curious is I want to know whether it is indeed in that paper, not because I don't trust them, but because Kenyans think that sometimes things are said which are not true. So I believe that's the first thing. The second thing is I'll expect our legislatures to be sober in the process, not to put any emotions or political. Let them be very objective. The thing that Parliament sometimes loses the focus in the middle of the process, and then they start arguing, calling themselves names. Tomorrow, we're really expecting you guys to stop the sideshows and focus with the objectivities and take Kenyans through it without putting emotions of attachment with political parties. We just want you to thoroughly explain the paper to Kenyans, the pros and the cons, so that at the end of the day, if you fought yes or you fought no, Kenyans understand why you voted it. No, the problem is last time, even Finance Bill 2023, when they reached on housing was the big thing last year. They spent all the time in one thing and calling themselves different names, insulting each other, until some of them were being taken out of, parliament. This time, we're really expecting you to avoid talking about one thing the whole day. Just suppress that emotion that you're like, oh, I want to be seen, that I want the debate. No, focus. Go through the whole finance bill step by step. Give your views on a fair ground. Don't put political differences. Don't put anything. Because today, I believe when people are in the street, it didn't matter who you voted for. So I believe our MPs should also do the same. It doesn't matter which coalition you are. Just focus with the objective, explain to Kenyans the bill to totality, and make them understand the whole bill. And then on Thursday morning, when you're going to make that decision, they will not feel like, why are you voting no? Or why are you voting yes? They'll feel like, okay, this is fair for him to vote whatever they decide to.
All right. And Risper, Kaikai has mentioned a very critical component, the lack of trust. And of course, in our country, Kenya, politicians are known to be speaking from both sides of the mouth. Well, we have these proposals here that they wish to drop. Do you think maybe it will live to see the light of the day, probably tomorrow? What's your take on this?
My honest view, I fear them. As she has said, we saw what they said today, but we are not sure whether it will reflect. Again, you see, sometimes our MPs speak to just impress us. They make us happy, but when they go to the main thing, they do otherwise. So my honest view is, I'm not sure what to expect. I'm so worried, but I'm really reminding my MP not to let me down. At least he listened to us and understand. But again, you see, most people are against this finance bill or supporting it simply because someone is supporting or someone is against it. They haven't read it. I've actually seen a video of someone calling it pay bill. So that tells you this is someone who is just arguing because he has seen us argue, or he is supporting because he has seen someone else support it. So I think our MPs will do just to us if they take us through it, make us understand, so that even if my MP goes and says yes, I'll be like, but he has the reasons, so it's okay.
Okay.
If he says no, then I'll be happy.
All right. Well, Kaikai, should this, proposal and of course the latest development that we have had today see the light of the day, that will mean the 16% on VAT on bread, then we have 2.5% on motor vehicle, and all this proposed deduction that the government is willing to actually drop. Should this pass? And we know you're talking about now the budget. We have the 4 trillion budget. The finance bill is a roadmap on how to collect these, taxations, because at the end of the day, this is what has to lead and lay down the proper framework on how the government can fund its operation. So where does it leave the entire budget?
Yeah, so this one will have to put the Treasury and the committee responsible, led by Kimani Kuda, have to sit down and they have to revise everything. Because the suggestion they made, they were expecting that they could raise that tax or that amount of money, 3.3 billion, and then there was other donations that leads to 4 billion. So now this one, the government will have, of course, a lot of deficits because they have removed like 12 things. They have removed those taxes. So each of them was getting from 0.1% to 2.5%. So that is a pretty good amount of money that they'll have to find a way. Or rather, what they'll do is that the things they wanted to do within this year, they'll disburse it, they'll carry forward. So that means like if they wanted to do a project to complete, they have to do it halfway, because of the constraints of finances. The other option is they can take loans. So the question that I'm going to ask Kenyans, which one are you choosing? Taxation or debt? Because the government has to run. Or otherwise, people who are civil servants, you'll stay for 6 months without salaries. It's the fact. Because if the government doesn't have money, they won't pay you if they don't have money. And if the government doesn't have money, they won't supply basic commodities like medicine to hospital or to county government. The doctors and nurses will also go back to streets because there's no money to pay them. The police officers, they don't strike, but it will be hard for their families because they don't have money. So the question is, choose one. Choose one of your drug. Is it taxation or is it debt? Which drug do you Kenyans want? Okay. Because you have to choose one. Then the other issue is, as Kenyans, we demand a lot from government. There is this saying that some great people said before us, that ask yourself what you do to your government, not what the government does for you. So I'm going to ask the young people, which solutions are you bringing to help the government bridge the gap of the deficit? Okay. Do not always be complaining. I know things are tough. I do pay school fees, and I was sent a letter 2 weeks ago that fee in that university is being increased by 20,000. And I asked the finance personnel, why am I gonna pay an extra 20,000 yet the budget for the Ministry of Education is over 600 billion? And they didn't answer me, of course. They asked me, go ask the Ministry of Education. So I understand that, yes, not everyone can afford that difference that all of a sudden you're told you're going to pay an extra 20,000 of school fees for your child. So the question comes now is, as a person, what are you going to do to raise extra money to catch up with the inflation or the tough economies? Because globally, things are tough. That's the truth too. It's not only in Kenya. But yes, we are in Kenya, and this is our motherland, and this is where we are. Okay. So we have to find a neutral ground whereby we agree and say, fine, let the government tax to this level. But I think the biggest problem we have is not actually the finance bill. It's accountability. Okay. And so I will have laughed at the conversation we're having ever since this finance bill came out was accountability, not actually about the bill. Because accountability is the one which has made Kenyans to lose trust. if there was accountability that we know, yes, we will raise 3 trillion, but at least 80% of it will be accountable. Okay. So once that accountability is achieved, and this one I'm calling upon my government, kindly, it's high time we become serious with fighting corruption. The real corruption. Forget about the small fish. We want the big fish, because we want everyone who invests on government funds from 2013 up to date to return back the monies, because according to ODPP, when you read even their social media pages, you see the people who stole 600 million, 700 million, 1.1 billion. If all those money are returned back, they will complete several stadiums across the country.
And I like your choice of words, if. Yes. And that's just a matter of time. Well, Risper, we're talking about now the aspect of accountability. And the dust hasn't set up. It's just last year we are talking about the finance bill of 2023, where Kenyans, really protested against. We had the housing levy there, and a whole lot of proposals that were made in that finance bill of 2023. Now we have the 2024. Majority of Kenyans say that we haven't really, recovered and come to terms with the finance bill of 2023. And now, if the government, of which they have shown a goodwill, should they, succeed the ground and actually let it slip the way they are planning to do it, then we have a crisis. We have like a 700 billion deficit that the government was planning to actually reduce the gap. Then in addition to this, we have 323 billion additional revenue that the government was hoping they will actually collect in this financial year of 2024-2025. Where does it leave Kenyans, and where are we?
I think the whole thing lies to accountability. Like, if they are able to use at least the little that they have to show us something on the table, we will not have a problem with the taxes. We are having problems because what we are already giving the government, we cannot see it. We are still struggling with government hospitals, where you go to a government hospital and find patients sharing a bed. It happens if you have never visited any. Now tell me, how will I be comfortable to continue adding this? You see, the problems that they are pointing out, they are problems that we've been dealing with over and over. Like they've been being passed from one government to another. And all we can see is the fact that there is a lot of embezzlement of funds that they cannot clearly explain to citizens what is happening, is why actually majority of us are complaining. If the government at least is able to show us that they are doing something, even the funds that the deficit that will be there, if there is accountability, it can cover even the deficits.
All right. Well, the discussion about accountability is a discussion that we can have it today, tomorrow. We did it before. And generation have come and gone. Generation of leaders, the dragon is still there. It's like this is just a stubborn wound that we can't really get the cure. So the question will be, you're saying if the government can show the commitment to fighting this corruption, well, like I said, that is a big question and a big ask from government. So where do we begin from here? How do we find the middle ground? From this discussion about accountability, okay, it's all about the government, but how do you really fight this?
From we as citizens and from the people in the institutions.
All right.
And I think strengthening the institutions in a matter where they are not affected by politics. Like giving the institutions the strength where, whether it's UDA that is in the government, whether it's ODM, whether it's Wiper or any other political party, it's not affecting our institutions. If our institutions are strengthened in the right way, then accountability will be seen.
Okay. Kaikai, the question of accountability, do you think this is something that will end today?
Accountability is a two-way thing.
Mm-hmm.
As Kenyans, we should hold our leaders accountable from the grassroots to the national government.
Okay.
Because the funny thing is, we complain at some point, then we just shut down after the bill is revised and Treasury gives out money. How many of you usually follow up and say, oh, my county is going to get 9.6 billion if this suggested budget is approved?
Okay.
That is for county. And then it's also going to get equalization fund for around another 1 or 2 billion. So that will be 11 billion. And it is also going to get some money for environmental projects. I know all of them.
Okay.
And me as a person, I hold my governor accountable. Even when I usually get complaints from people, I DM him on WhatsApp and he responds. I tell him, Governor, what are these things I'm hearing from home? I'm in Nairobi and I'm hearing some stuff. He will see it wherever time he'll see, and he will respond and tell me I've handled it, or I have delegated someone, or it's like, oh, I was not aware.
Okay.
And that is the conversation we want, that don't just wait until things are on the hot point.
Okay.
Immediately after this, the discussion is over on Thursday. The budget is on public. You know, county will get how much, this ministry will get how much. If we want our government to hold everyone accountable, then it starts from us.
Okay.
As you Kenyans were saying today, power belongs to you. Yes, power belongs to you by starting to ensure that every money allocated to every ministry and every county accounts. So you, even the area MCA are very accessible.
Okay.
If you say the governor is not. When you go home, your MCA is allocated 100 million. Ask him, what are you doing with the 100 million? Our MCA is a very nice person. He was independent, and we have several WhatsApp groups.
Okay.
Groups for upgrading health facilities, upgrading nursery schools, and he always responds. We tell him, you said you're doing this. Why is it stalled?
Okay.
And we ask him, if the contractors are not doing the job, then tell the community if you paid for them. Okay. So I believe that change starts with us, not from government. It starts with us.
Okay.
So once we hold them accountable, it will be easier, because they won't have a loophole. Okay. Because now we know everything. So it will be so hard for ODPP and DCI and anyone else to say this and this, because Kenyans have receipts and like, no, this is my county, this is and this. It's not done. Okay. We want the truth. We want accountability of the money.
All right. Even as we come to an end of this particular discussion, there is a very important matter that I'd like to get your accounts on this. I'm talking about now the police conduct. Today we've seen a lot of tear gas, a lot of arrests. We have seen even journalists being hurt in the process. So, I mean, there's a cycle that keeps on repeating itself. And such discussions are, so hurtful and even heavy to have at this particular point. So talk to me about the police conduct, and going forward, what should we do to make sure the right of demonstrators are protected, the right of journalists are also protected?
Personally, I feel sometimes the police tend to forget the utumishi kwa wote term. I think I don't know when they come to the demonstrators whether they see enemies or something, because like I can say today, I was there, I saw it. People were so peaceful until the police came. Sometimes they bring the force. People are walking comfortably. They are not destroying anything, but now the police start throwing tear gas. What do you expect? A commotion, of course. And sometimes I feel they do tamper with the work of journalism to try to ensure some information is not reaching the people well the way it should. You are our only voice. So for me to go picketing or demonstrating there in CBD and the whole country to know, it's through KUTV. So by putting in a situation where you cannot show it, then so I don't know whether it's they are told to do that. I don't know whether it's it's a command from above or what it is, but I would love the police to remember we are all human beings. We are in this together. Even if you are a police officer, then your wife is a teacher, your wife is a business person, or your mom or your sister or anyone. And this bread, you will also buy it outside, the one that I'm trying to talk about. So I think at times they can just come and give us security, not beat us or do some funny things. But because personally I feel the police are the ones who are making the people bring the force. Because if you are peaceful and you start tear gassing us and stuff, that running helter-skelter causes the commotion, of course, and that's where the drama begins.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Kaikai, pretty fast because you're running out of time. I want to get your account on this. Today we have seen a lot of arrests, tear gas, and all that, water canister, and of course, even journalists in the process being caught in this fracas. So what's your take on this?
The journalist that is hospitalized, it was just an incident, an unfortunate incident. I wish him quick recovery. So the thing is, the nurses and doctors strike just ended the other day. There was no one who interfered with them. Police were there, yes, but they were never tear gas. They were never canning.
Of course they were.
Because they didn't.
Because this is a very accountability show, so we must be very factual.
So you guys today, you are there. Yes, you are not vandalizing property, but you are vandalizing emotions by words you're speaking. As I said earlier, what you speak, respect has to be the core. So in most of those clips, I even posted one, it has 490 comments. One of the clip from which I was sent when you guys were there. And people were talking mean words. They're like, we kwanza unalipo pesa kidogo na ukopo unasimama nini? Like, how is that related to? He's doing his job. The same way you want to be respected. Why can't you respect the police officer? They're human. They're not scarecrow. So you're insulting that person and you expect him to be a god and say, fine. And you see, they usually don't act immediately. You keep on insulting until they reach the break-even point. They're human. So, yes, it's in the Constitution. As I said earlier, people should be organized and they should know what they're fighting for. You can't go there and starting all wars. You want to show the police that you have a right more than them. They have a right to be there because that is their job. And for your information, they are protecting you every other day, even when you don't have issues going to the street. So cut them some slack. Give them the respect they deserve. Do demonstration in a very peaceful way and do not divert to things. Like whoever was speaking those things about the salary and stuff in a very mean way, that they're not part of the finance bill. Like they are not members of parliament. Why were you guys insulting them? And then you expect them to give you biscuits or water to drink. No, they give you tear gas. I was a comrade in the University of Nairobi. We used to do demonstration in school and we used to be tear gassed.
Okay. Well, I think for now we'll have to end it at this particular point, and thank you so much, ladies, for making time to have this very important discussion about the state of the nation. And of course, key focus has been the finance bill of 2024, and of course where we have seen some demonstrations, a lot of tear gas, arrest, and injuries in the process. Of course, that is Kaikai, Naipamei, an economist. Asante sana for making time. Same case to Risper, Ntinyari, social worker. Asante sana for making time. Alright, so we'll be taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about matters sports.